Okay, and we are here today with a wonderful lady called Anne Hart. And like everything else, like I say on my channel, synchronicities come into the fold so many times. And you will hear me say this so many times, either in my course or talking to people, how people come in to my fold through other people, or just utter synchronistic moments. And this happens to be one of them. And I'll just tell you a little bit about the story. This occurred probably last year, at least 6 months ago, when a friend of mine, you all know her, Jane Denham, insisted that I go to a one-day workshop. And I can only say I was more or less dragged there. And it was like, you need to go. And I went, right, okay. She said, well, I've already been once, but she said, I really don't need to go, but I know that you do. So I kind of gave in and I went, right, okay, trust the process. So this is what happened. And I ended up at this wonderful one-day workshop and met this lady who is here with me now, Anne. And from that, we have gone full circle through synchronistic events, through the guides and through Source, putting us back together again. And this is what I've always said about trusting the process and about synchronicities. So I introduce you to Anne Hart, and we're going to have a wonderful conversation today about Anne's journey of how she woke up and the amazing events that have happened within her life. And some of them are beautiful, and we'll also talk about the energy and the sound that she now brings through herself, and we'll talk about that at the end, because that is something totally special. Welcome, Anne.
Thank you, and thank you for inviting me. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, well, it's like I said, as I explained, it's just through pure synchronicity that we're together. And we always laugh, and I always say this again with Jane, that how things happen is just so funny, and you can't make any of this up, can you?
No, it's really miraculous, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, miracles are afloat if we look at it like that.
I mean, how we actually got together this time was, obviously you messaged me towards the end of last year and said, I've had my guides contact me and say, will you get in touch with me? And you were quite honest, and you said, I haven't got a clue. I don't know what it's about. And this is how it always works, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. When you're in this on the spiritual path and you trust in the process. So you got hold of me and said, obviously relayed this message. And I said, well, okay, interesting. I don't know, but I will tune in. I will ask. As I always say to everybody, ask, because we forget to do that a lot of the time. And I got the information through of us doing this, sitting down together, talking about your journey, but also putting you out there for the sounds and the energy side of what you bring through. But before we even get to that, because that's really like more towards the end of the journey, I'd love to start at the beginning, at the very beginning, to how you ended up on this path and where your spiritual awakening began.
It's very interesting because it came through fast and unexpected. So it's not something that I thought I'd like to develop my spirituality. I might find a course or a teacher. No. So in the summer of 2000, through a lot of workplace stress, a lot of my own past, emotional issues, past baggage, it all just spilled over. And so I went for a healing session with a colleague, with a friend. So I just want to give that person a message, because she's a very special lady to me, because she opened me up, and that's a special connection. These are special connections, aren't they?
Yes.
So that's Sue MacDonald from Introspect and Reflect. And within 60 minutes, well, less than 60 minutes, it altered my life completely.
Wow.
So she started the session, and I can only describe it that I went home Do you know, I just went off into another state of reality across the stars, and I was consumed by love. Do you know, and I've never felt that in human form. The past has been difficult. I had a rocky marriage. There's lots of, you know, confliction in my life, in every area of my life. So to go into feeling loved, feeling that I belonged somewhere, feeling something beyond all the poop and the crap, was like, the emotion of that it just broke me down. You know, I sobbed, but not sobbed in pain, but sobbed in joy.
Yes.
Sobbed in, this is it. And there were people that I knew, you know, saying hi. Like the old guy that lived next door when I was growing up. His name was Bob, and he kind of like 5 and 6. I can remember him buying me nice things, and, you know, and he came through as clear as anything. And I came back just absolutely a wreck, do you know, emotionally, physically, all of it. But you can't experience something like that and things remain the same. It altered my reality. It altered my beliefs. It advanced me. And Sue said to me, you know, you have massive abilities here. You've got mediumistic abilities, there's psychic abilities, there's spiritual abilities, there's channeling abilities. She said it straight away. And I kind of sat there and I thought, I'm not sure as if I want that. I feel schizophrenic. You know, have I gone from being in emotional distress to a mental distress? It's not acknowledged in our society, is it? No. It's not in our education system. It's just not. That separation from a raw, natural connection that I think is our birthright, we are completely cut off from that. And I can remember going home from that session and it just didn't stop. So I started to hear things and see things, and I was given things, and I started to write things. So there was conflict at work. I knew what was coming. Really? Yeah. I go into meetings, I knew what was going to be said. I know who was telling the truth, who was lying, what they were going to do. The whole thing was projected into the future. Do you know? It's like, it turned my world upside down.
I can imagine.
And I had to ground it. You know, and there were certain people that was like, I can't cope with you being like this, and it separated some relationships. The relationship that I was in, it broke that. Right. Some friends could just come in and accept it, others couldn't. Yes. So it took a massive impact. But what happened from there, as you know, the synchronicity that we've just spoke about started to immediately take effect. And a friend gave me a number to contact this lady out in the Peak District. And I rang her in distress. That phone call was like, I don't know what's happening to me. I'm hearing things, I'm seeing things. I'm not coping with life. I think I've gone nuts. Yes. And she just said, calm down. What is happening is not a breakdown, it's a breakthrough. And you're opening up to a spiritual breakthrough. So come and see me. So I booked an appointment. And you know, the first thing I always remember that day driving over is the sense of humanity in her. Because I knocked on the door and she just went, oh, come on in. Do you want a cuppa? It's like
yeah, it happens every day.
Yeah, like I've known her forever. Have a hug, sit down, you know, and there's relevant pictures and feathers, and it was a different environment that I went into. And again, I had that feeling of connection, of going home, of never having seen anybody before, but felt like I've known her over many lifetimes. In the right place, you know, and we developed what I'd opened up to consistently over 5 years until she passed on, and she's still with me now. But what we did is we went into past lives. I got a different understanding of my soul, beyond this lifetime, a different understanding of my soul and where it was from. A wider perspective on life, ancient knowledge, a way of being. It was like an education that you cannot get in a mainstream way. it's far beyond it. Do you know?
I totally understand. And I think there's a lot of people out there that will be breathing a huge sigh of relief in listening to you. In the fact that a lot of people have gone through that. A lot of people are going through that at the moment.
Yeah.
And for them to hear you say that you thought you were going mad. And like you rightly say, we go back to the days where they were putting people in sanitariums.
Totally.
Because this was happening to people, and it still happens today. And a lot of people do not understand what is happening to them, but then don't get the spiritual advice and the help from the right kind of source to be able to help the person transition through it all and to work. Obviously, the person that you met and the 5 years that it took you. And this is another thing where I say to people is, most of the time, this isn't a fast process.
It's not a fast process. It's a journey.
It is.
Not a destination. And one that I don't think can be rushed, do you?
No, not at all.
No.
And I mean, when mine happened in 2012, it's still happening today. You know, it's still, things are happening all the time. People are coming in to my life. You know, I still get messages. I'm still channeling all kinds of things. And it's a constant awakening. You know, you end up with your gifts. And that's not to say that's all you're going to receive. I mean, most of the time it's amazing. But when you're ready, it always makes me laugh. There's always something that they drop in. Absolutely. And there's like, right, okay, here's the next piece to the puzzle, isn't it?
Yeah, because our potential's not finite, it's infinite. And the levels that we can go to is infinite. We live in an infinite universe. It doesn't stop, does it, as you know?
No.
And that's the beauty of it. That's the evolution. You know, there's so much that we can bring through.
So what did you find once you went to visit the lady, and obviously you worked with her over those 5 years? You just guide us through a little bit, because you do have some amazing abilities to what you actually found all those abilities were and how you went on to use them more.
I found me. I found the essence of me in that. You know, I think there is so much external pressure on what we should be, where we need to go, what we need to do, what identity we take on, everything. But I found the rawness of my spirit. I found its ancientness. I found, you know, an understanding in past lives of an indigenous past, you know, where communities made sure everybody had and nothing went without. It's like, I connect to that on a soul level. I connect to that on a soul level. It really gave me a sense of self that only my spiritual connection could give me at that level, and knowing of who I am. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm still on a journey of development. You know, we always are.
Yes. And
that is personal development and professional of, you know, deservability, confidence, self-esteem. I'm still working through all that. It's a lifetime. I do believe it is for all of us if we're honest. But spiritually, it gave me an understanding of working beyond the 5 senses, of intuition, of vision, of being clairaudient, clairsentient, and all of it, and knowing a broader, wider aspect of being alive beyond planet Earth.
Yes.
You know,
totally.
And you can't always talk to everybody about it, as you know, and family are very mixed, and it's like, well, you just get on with it.
Yes.
You know, it's slightly insane, that's fine. And you have to have the confidence to overcome and rise above it. And so you know, that has been a progression. It's a progression for me to be here, because this is another level of being honest, open, and out there. And it's took 24 years since I've been on. So when we say, you know, nothing's quick, it's not. It's But yeah, so I think that development gave me the insight, the enlightenment to then start to work with it. So I was guarded of who I said anything to for like those first 4 years. And I can remember in a counselling session, and again, this is the synchronicity. I had some counselling sessions, and I thought, I don't think I dare tell her that what's happened. She's going to think I'm balmy. She's going to think, you know. So I plucked up courage to say in one session, there's something that I would like to bring, is the fact that I see things, I hear things, I channel people that have crossed over. And she said, that's wonderful. Do you fancy doing a bit of work in my business with me? Would you like to come and do some readings? And I just sat there and went, ugh. It just came in, and I just went, yes. So that was the start of a door opening. Wow. That was the start of the connection coming into a kind of physical product on the earth plane and being able to help people. And I was so nervous because our earthly things come in. I'm not good enough, can't give enough.
Yes.
Do you know, it's not clear enough, somebody else is better.
Yes. Oh, yes.
All of what we're entrenched in, I believe, through being separated from our spirit. I think if we all had a deeper spiritual connection, maybe those things wouldn't be quite severe in us. I don't know what your thoughts on that
Yeah,
is.
totally. I mean, I think with the comments that are starting to come through with the channel and the past clients that I've had, and obviously that you've had, one of the biggest things that people say, and I've said it myself in the past, you know, like, did that really happen? Did I really hear that? Am I going mad? Which is like one of the biggest ones, I think, where people say, you know, like, they don't understand what's happening to them. And even though most people that I speak to have had some kind of experience, and it's not until you say something to them, obviously you put yourself out there, and then they think, oh, I can actually say something to this person. I can tell them my experience because they probably won't think I'm that mad.
Yeah.
And it that in itself, more than ever now, has started to bring people out. There are so many people out there, isn't there?
Yes, totally. And, you know, the more conscious we get, the more we will want to reclaim, I believe, what has been lost, what we have separated from, because I think it just advances your well-being. You know, it eliminates our mental health problems. It's the opposite to what we think.
Yes,
totally. Actually, it's your inner wisdom. It's your spirit. It's your connection to earth and heaven. It's your connection to the original source. It's going to feed you an intelligence beyond the intelligence of this planet. Why wouldn't we want to live in that harmony, that wholeness, that completion in every moment? Because that's what I believe it gives you. When you work at it, you've got to work at it. You know, it's not going to take away your stuff. You still got to look at it and feel it and come through the other end, but it gives you stability. For me, it's given me stability when I didn't have any, when I didn't feel safe. You know, it gave me some serenity when I felt that I was suffering and the pain got too much.
Yeah.
And it's given me an understanding that I don't feel that I could have carried on living, to be honest, if I didn't have. Because I was struggling with life and events and experiences. So much so that I don't know where I would have gone if I hadn't opened up.
And I think that is the big story. And you often hear it within the spiritual community where people are always saying, you know, go within. It's not on the outside.
No.
And the more and more people that are out there that get in that position, that then start to look for the answer on the outside, because they're obviously that far away from the purpose, from the connection, from the soul and everything. And that's exactly what I say to people as well, is when you're that far apart, that is the time to literally center yourself and go within. And I think at that point in time, to be able to do that is sometimes the most difficult thing to start to do, because they don't understand it. But once you start on that road and take those steps down that path, and that's why I say to people, try it.
Yes, absolutely.
Just try it and see where it goes. You know, you don't have to stay on that path, but at least just a few little steps just down that path and see where it leads you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And just like you say, those few little steps is a big difference.
Hugely. So after you started, obviously, from those 5 years, then where did that take? Obviously, that took you to working with clients, I presume.
It absolutely did. It changed my life, because then what happened is I felt that I didn't fit in a mainstream world.
Right.
So my job had to go, do you know?
Okay.
Because that, well, actually, systems and structures, and it just didn't fit. So I knew there was a big jump off coming. So as I developed it, I went into healing modalities and meditation and spiritual development. And then I did a few things that got mixed into the bag at that point, like hypnotherapy.
Yes.
And so there was, you know, a number of things that I could offer and survive with and thrive with. And I opened up a shop in 2007.
All right.
So I was doing meditation readings, guidance, spiritual development, and I opened up a shop for 3 years until 2010. But things started to change again from 2010 to 2012. There was a movement that said, you know, you've got to go deeper into purpose, and actually you can't play small,
right.
you know, or you've got to look at giving and receiving, because at the moment you're giving too much away, you're not receiving, you're a little bit out of balance. And plus there's some leadership skills in there that you will have to take to the max, because you can't help others if you can't help yourself.
Right,
you've got to kind of claim that abundance, you know, claim that prosperity. But I'd always been a bit, well, we want a fairer world. I'm not sure as if it fits with me. But, you know, I experienced a lot of enlightenment from 2007 to 10 on my own pattern, on my own behaviours, on the programmes that I had running that didn't serve me. Do you know, it was, because we are on a development path ourselves when we enter into this path. We're on growth, aren't we? And it does mean responsibility.
Yes.
It does. And looking within and not kind of, you know, wagging fingers at others so much. It brings it home. And that was part of those years. So it developed even further, and it got stronger and stronger, that I knew it was a way of life for me, a way of living, a way of leading. Do you know, there is no way I could have one foot in the old life and embrace this.
Yes.
It was give it your all.
So what then, did you actually close the shop down eventually?
I did, yes.
And what did you go on then to do after the shop?
So during the shop times, I had a big pull to Louise Hay and Wayne Dyer. They are my inspiration, you know. And so I went on to do the Love Yourself, Heal Your Life training, and went further into it through that. And then that led me into coaching. It led me into working with the wisdom that started to come through even more. So, yeah, and then what happened then was kind of changing in lifestyle. Yeah, I had death of parents, I had children leaving home. So my life that was kind of moved in terms of the commitments that I had.
Yes.
You know, and that then it left a gap for me to go deeper into it. And when that gap came, that's when the channel started to really open up, because I went from at 2012, 2013, it went from being intuitive to seeing, hearing, sensing, receiving, having thoughts, you know, hearing things to actually, can you make a space in your energetic system? Can you make a space in your body where we can come in, really in, and work with your throat, work with your voice, speak through you?
Right.
And I was like, well, we can have a go. I'm not sure as if I want to claim it, own it, stand up and say it.
Yes.
Do you know what? Do you know?
Yeah.
And it was really, really interesting what happened. And that was the start of the return to 13, actually, because I'd moved from where I was living out into the country. I closed the shop. I'd gone down a bit because there was grief around, there was loss around.
Yes.
Life is a duality, isn't it? You know, and you have to work through that. And I was quite broke, you know, again, you know, there's those ups and downs. But this time there was financial difficulties. And I can remember having some friends come to see me, and I thought, I hope they are okay with staying in and just having a coffee with me, because I don't know if I've got the cash to buy them one. Certainly not got the cash to do lunch. And they said, yeah, we're fine with stopping in. I didn't say that. I didn't own the fact that I was in that difficulty. Kind of put your front on, you know. And we did a meditation. And during that, again, it came through. Can we come in? We stand up. We came out of that meditation and we shared where we'd been and what we'd got. And I shared it and I said, I've been asked to channel. I've been asked to just stand up. Invite who I'm working with in, see if they want to come and do a year with me. I don't know what I'm going to be saying. I don't know what I'm going to be delivering. This is the cost. If you're not happy, have your money back. So I put it out to the circles that I was in, and you know, quite a few stepped in, and I embraced it. And I think that was 2013, and it was the most petrifying thing I'd ever done. Because you've got 20 odd women around you and you're delivering something, you don't know what you're delivering, and how beautiful that they've trusted in you.
Yes.
They've invested in you. They don't know what they're going to get. I don't know what I'm speaking about. Do you know what I mean? It was like, but the beauty that started to come through from that was just incredible. And it's gone on and on and on since then.
I mean, that is literally when we say about trust the process.
Trust the process.
And where it leads you. I mean, that is just amazing, to the fact that you go, this is what we say, don't we, you know, to the financial aspect of it, wherein a lot of us in the spiritual community have quite a hang up regarding money and around charging and things like this. It's probably one of the biggest things out there when we put ourselves on this path. But like you, I mean, that's just a fantastic, you know, transition to go from the aspect of no money, trusting the source that is coming through, the guides, the energy and everything else, doing that, and then on the other side of it, receiving, which it is, receiving the abundance through doing that. It's always, for me, it's like a right, okay, you've done this kind of on our behalf, so therefore this is your, you know, this is your return.
Absolutely. And do you know, there was only one weekend in of that course, and I was asked to create teachers, and it's like, ask your people if they want to teach it. It can't be just you. It's got to spread out. You know, the matrix has to spread out. And I thought, well, I've only done one weekend. I don't even know what, you know, I've not looked at what I've channeled, because when you're channeling it, you don't always know what's coming through. So for me, my human form was on the same course that was coming through me. Do you know what I mean? Because I got to sit and learn it, look at it, dedicate myself to it and associate with it. So to say, right, find teachers, ask if they want to be teachers. Nothing's licensed, nothing's trademarked, none of all that mainstream stuff. None of it was in place, nothing made, nothing done, no booklets, you know, and oh, I've got to ask, because I've been asked to ask.
Yes.
It's on a second day, and I just stood up and I said, I know we're only like this much into this course. Anybody would like to learn to teach it with me? And yeah, you know, a lot stood up. And so what that did, it created another circle in another circle, it wound it. And then the abundance comes back. You know, it didn't need a mainstream business marketing strategy with it. It catapulted me from nothing to like almost a 6-figure business overnight.
Wow.
I think it's impossible to get that. Where else can you get that? Such a movement. It is a movement. Yeah. So that was around 2013, 2014. Something else happened in 2016, because as I started to get used to handing over body, voice, mind, all of it, it's as if the universe took me further deeper into it, deeper into other planets, other realms of reality, star people, do you know, kind of, it's like they got me comfy, and then opened up another portal. Well, we've got you confident, you know, with where you are, so here we go again. And I've always been very kind of, I have to sit with it first a bit, and then when I'm ready, I'll step out. But it's had to be a safe environment, in a safe corner of my world. Yes. Around people that know you, love you, trust you. Do you know? It's, so going out. Maybe that's me saying. Yes, I'm out.
Yes, exactly.
Going out is something that I don't believe could come until where we are now. Yes. So this is my biggest out.
So you're proper out of the spiritual closet. We shall see.
Out the closet. Yeah, let's say that. And so that brought in another level of channeling, a higher channel. And I sat with a very good colleague and friend, Lisa Spencer, are now, who actually passed, bless her, last March. But I know that she's doing amazing things. It's like, I know where she is. I know she's doing amazing things for the planet where she is. Yes. You know, and it's so special to still have the access to that connection.
Most definitely.
But she said, okay, what's happening? And I said, there's another level of channeling where it's as if I'm reading the wisdom from someone else's soul, and it's deep wisdom, and then we're giving it and we're creating kind of courses, products and programs, or whatever, teaching, whatever is happening, it's massively creative. And she said, okay, we'll call it iChannel then. And that's where that part of my business was brought forth from. So she was really instrumental in kind of grounding that, you know, and saying, let's have a look what's happening, you know, how are you going to work with it, how are they wanting you to work with it. So that took it deeper into me just moving out my own way and letting them in. Right. And again, it's a safe, I did it in a safe corner of my world. And yeah, so the evolution of that just went on and on and on. And then the sound and the ascension, I believe, came from another spiritual awakening in 2018.
You were telling me about this earlier, and this is like, wow.
Yeah. Wow. It is a wow. It really is. So what happened is, again, that year, it brought up a lot of things for me. There was a lot going on. It brought another level of past up, another level of loss and grief, another level of, you know, I think past life difficulties that I was trying to manage. And I knew that there was a resistance in me to maybe let it go, to maybe move on to where I was being called to go. I don't deal with change very well, do you know? I hold on to emotions.
Yes.
There's a lot in there, and the same lady that opened me up 18 years previous was with me this particular evening. And we had done some development together. We'd lit candles. It was a Friday evening. We'd done healing on each other. She did a healing on me, and I started to shake really badly. And I'd also had a visit from my grandmother while she was doing the healing. And she brought me through the 23rd Psalm. Now, I ought to be able to tell you what that is, but I can't remember it. But it's the 23rd Psalm. I know it is, the Lord is my shepherd. You know, and when I came out of that healing session, I said to her, oh, my grandmother's been, and she's brought me the 23rd Psalm. I don't know it. Shall we Google it? So we Googled it. And it said something about, you know, even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, thou shalt be with me.
Yes.
Well, I went, ooh, I'm not sure how, you know. And she said, you'll be fine. It just means you're divinely guided. Whatever you go through, you know this. It just means everybody's there. Everybody's helping you. Let it go. So we ended the session. Off she went. I went to bed. I'd only been in bed a couple of hours. And I started to be violently sick, where it was really, really bad. And I thought, it's a hot day. It's June the 9th, 2018. I'll never forget it. It's been a hot day. I've been rushing around with work, different things. You know, I bought myself a little car, got an MX-5 at the time. The roof had been down and I'd been on a motorway. Maybe I've just overeated. I go down, get a drink, and I'll just be fine. So went down, made a drink, had 5-10 minutes downstairs. I come to go back upstairs, and my body wouldn't carry me up the stairs. So I went into complete fatigue. So I crawled up them, managed to get into my room, alerted a family member who then just took one look at me and phoned an ambulance. And at that point I thought, okay, what do I do now? So at the side of the bed was a pack of runes. So I thought, well, okay, we'll just shuffle a few runes as you do, you know what I mean? And it kind of came up, new beginnings, still you're going to be fine. In comes the paramedics who rushed in, and at this point my breathing had gone extremely shallow, but I had no idea that was happening. And they were so just angels, do you know? I mean, acute care and our emergency services, God bless. So she hopped on the bed and she took my hand and she said, we just want you to stay calm because we're just going to do an ECG just to rule out heart problems.
Yes.
Okay, so it popped on really quick, and the other paramedic, he said, oh, look what we've got here. And she went, really? And he went, yeah. And she squeezed my hand and she said, I want you to stay even more calm now because you're in the middle of a heart attack.
Wow.
And we really, really need to get you to hospital. ASAP, mega fast. Within minutes, they've got me strapped and wired for sound and everything. But within minutes, that was it. Life gone. So I went into several cardiac arrests.
Really?
Yeah. Which I don't know. You know, you don't know, and you don't know you've had an near-death experience until you start to come round and you piece it together. So there was a lot of confusion, but as I started to come round after surgery, after that had happened, I started to piece together what had happened, and memories started to come back. So the memory that came back to me was really thinking, I've got a bad headache, I know I'm in an ambulance, but I wish somebody had turned the fluorescent light off. Do you know what that's like?
Right.
I didn't realise ambulances have massive fluorescent lights in them. Well, they don't.
Yes.
And then I can remember seeing my father, and he was like, well, what are you doing here? How have you got yourself into a state like this? I was like, do you know how much I've grieved for you? And now we meet and you telling me off. And then I can remember being told that I have a choice.
Right.
You know, because again, the difficulties in life, and as I said earlier, I think if I hadn't had my spirit, it might have been a bit too much to stay on the planet. And it was like, well, you've got a choice. But if the light goes out, then you've chosen.
Right.
And I was told that I had to sing my way back.
Interesting.
Yeah. And I thought, I can hardly breathe. I can't sing my way back. It's like, you have got to sing your way back. And I can remember coming out of a coma in the ambulance, just as the ambulance pulled up to the hospital. And the sound of my own voice woke me up. And one of the paramedics had got my hand and he said, I have never heard a sound like it. I have never known anybody come out of a coma that way, ever. And then they just rushed me out of the ambulance. All the surgeon, everybody, they were all there. Like, you know, the table had been prepared before me. It was all lined up. It was all synchronised. But I'd had 7 cardiac arrests, so everything was kind of burnt. You know, I didn't realise that until I was in the intensive care unit, and the pain was incredible. And the nurse said, well, you had a real journey to life. Massively so.
That's huge, isn't it?
It's huge.
Huge.
But I think so much the observation from that, observing how people care and observing passion for purpose. You know, because the surgeon, the paramedics, all of it, they had a passion for life. And I'd never observed that before, you know. And I can remember the following morning, the cleaner coming in about 5 a.m. With a smile, saying, are you all right, love? Do you know, is there anything I can get you? Happy-go-lucky. And again, it just brings the importance back of life.
Yes.
Not of divide, not of I'm better than you, you're better than me. Actually, in order to create health, we're all equal. And everybody in that environment was a vital point of somebody's existence and recovery. You know, it taught me a lot. I observed a lot. Yeah, but what that did, I think it cleared me out emotionally and physically and mindfully. I let a lot go during that experience. And it took me up even more to a higher level of spirituality. And that's where the ascension work started to come through. That's where the sound started to come through. And I just weren't prepared to come out with it at that point. It was like, no chance.
I bet the poor guy that was with you when you came out of the coma. To the fact of the sound that you made. You can imagine his face must have been an absolute picture.
Yes,
I mean, that in itself, I mean, like you said, you'd never experienced that for you you literally did sing your way back.
I sung my way back. Yes. Yeah.
So let's go there. So after that happened, and once you were well, how long did it take you to actually recover from all of that?
The recovery was absolutely fast-tracked.
Right.
Yeah. So the intensive care unit doctor just couldn't get over how quick that healing after came through. Yeah. So I was back on my feet physically kind of within days, which was huge. I did need time to rest and recoup and recover. I did, and to really articulate and integrate what I've been through.
Most definitely.
You know, because it was like, has this really happened? Did this really happen? And there were so many beautiful moments of that journey. Apart from giving birth, it's the kind of, and opening up spiritually, it's in my top 3 of life's miracles. Because just before they discharged me, because my healing was quick, they don't want you in an intensive care unit if you don't need it, understandably. So they referred me back to general ward. And then they discharged me pretty quick. And the hospital chaplain came around within minutes before I was due to just kind of go. And he said, anybody in this ward like to have a chat with me, talk to me, da 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 da. And I said, yeah, I would, please. And again, I was a bit apprehensive because, you know, that's the hospital chaplain. It's a religion.
Yes.
But there are synchronicities. We're not separate from it. And I thought, no, I want to make a relationship here in my language, in my way. So I said to him, the night of my heart attack, I had messages from my grandmother, and she gave me the 23rd Psalm. He said, just a minute, I'll pull up a chair. Yeah, and he broke that psalm down and related it in my language. He didn't want to convert me.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're related.
Yes.
In love, in connection, in humanity. I've seldom had it. 2 different people, 2 different beliefs, and yet the same came together. Yeah, and he gave me every, like, just means that, you know, like, table is set before you, means that everything was prepared. From the ambulance coming, to the moment you rang, to the surgeon. Well, I just kind of broke down and cried because it's beautiful language, you know. He anoints, there's a line in it that talks about being anointed. He anoints my brow. And he said, that's just like you using oils and aromatherapy oil to create a nice environment, you know. You are initiating yourself into something that's holy, and I just would never forget it because it was a connection. And at the end of it, he said, would you like to take a Bible with you? And I said, yes, I would. And that had been something that I'd been closed off to all my life. Yes. Do you know, from being forced to go to Sunday school at 5 and thinking, I don't want this. Yeah. This is not me. And having a paddy and kicking off and refusing. To actually accepting that and being able to touch someone's hand and say thank you. And for him to say, well, you know, if you need to come back, come back. If you need to come and sit in the chapel, come and sit, you know, where I am. And I was open to that offer. I didn't feel that I needed to moving forward, but just that connection of 2 different things coming together as one. I felt the importance of that. You know, beautiful experience, stunning.
So once you totally recouped, and obviously then kind of, as we have to, we integrate obviously what we've been through and what was happening at the time. So where did you start once this sound had come through? What did you do next to the fact of, to associate how it worked, what it was for?
For a while, I think I struggled to associate with it. Do you know, it was like, well, there is a sound that comes through me. I'm not sure at the moment how confident I feel with knowing more. So they gave me a gentle journey. It's been a gentle journey that I would go there maybe with friends that are open, with colleagues that are open, and then go there with clients that I've known for many years or have followed the journey with me and dipped in and dipped out of the journey until I got more and more confident and closer to it. And I know that is a sound that we can ascend our consciousness with. that we can raise the frequency, raise the vibration, go into more health and well-being. It's not necessarily, although it does heal our past and where we are, it is a forward movement to that higher level of consciousness. So I started to understand it. And it's really interesting because if I go back a little bit, around 2016 when the eye channel came in and started to kind of channel through more star people and that higher channel opened up, I was given 13 symbols, but the 13 symbols go with the sound. I didn't know that.
I see.
So it's like a jigsaw puzzle, isn't it? We're not always given the big picture and the full picture. We work with what we're given, and it's not till many years maybe down the line that we understand it. And so I was coming out with the sound more and more, but in a way that I felt comfortable and safe. Because safety is a big thing for me. I've never felt safe on this planet. I've always suffered from fear, anxiety, a little bit worried. There's been that underlying grief right from my very first memory. But I do believe now that's not just the losses and the duality of human life. I feel that it's the separation I had from my own spirit and my home, my soul home, way out there in the cosmos. So if I'd have been integrated into a culture that accepted it, that loss wouldn't be there. It would grow with me from my early years. You know, the trauma wouldn't be there, the grief wouldn't be there, that closed my heart, that, you know, sealed my arteries. That health and well-being and mental health would be at a different level.
I totally agree.
I really believe that.
And I think that there are a huge amount of people out there, me included, that we get to the stage and we don't realise the grief of separation that we are carrying around.
Totally.
And I don't think this is addressed, especially within more so like the spiritual community. And I think it's probably something as we go in now to 2024 and onwards, for people that are on this journey, I really believe that is probably up there with one of the main issues.
Totally agree. I couldn't agree more. Absolutely, it is.
I mean, I personally didn't know until probably, it was only a few months back actually when I had an aha moment. And when I was saying to you, I had the full knowledge of being placed here, and the grief, once that happened to me, the crying and obviously the grief then that I released was huge. The grief I felt of that separation of being placed here was massive. And I didn't put that together until literally only probably a few weeks ago. And this is like you say with the jigsaw pieces and what I say as well. And I was listening to a past session, and it was somebody who had helped me on my journey a lot, and I did a session with her, and she constantly referred to my lungs. And even in a session with her, she said, when we were all together, she mentioned it. And then again, she mentioned it further on. And she said, but your whole body, she said, when I mention it, your whole body contracts and it's don't go there.
Yeah.
And she said, it's like you are holding a huge amount of grief. And I did not understand any of that. Literally until a few weeks back, when I put both of those scenarios together. Yeah. And it was like,
yeah, you've got it. Yeah, the light bulb's on.
Yes.
Yeah, it totally, I really feel the dis-ease, the dysfunction through that separation, through being separated from it, through all of the stigma that is out there. is a real disadvantage to our health and well-being and ability to live in harmony with ourselves, with others, with the purpose, with the planet, and with, you know, the divine, the infinite universe. Because we've cut off the access to such an unconditional love, to such an intelligence force, to such a sense of self and belonging. Where do we go when you've not had that? Really, you're cut off from your parents, isn't it? It's like what you were saying earlier.
Yes, totally. And I think if people just had a little bit of an insight on that and could go there and to release that, it's like you've just said, it puts you on the next level of your ascension once you can drop that huge emotion of grief. But it's not an easy realization to go through from a 3D perspective when you know you're talking about where you've come from, whether it be source, whether it be the stars, whether it be another part of the universe, to realize that the grief that we've experienced through that separation and through now being placed here in this humanness, that the longing until you've experienced like that out of body experiences that you've had, or in meditation, where you go home, where you feel that absolute bliss and unconditional love, and it's like, it's not surprising once you feel that of the grief of that separation, of that feeling, of that love, and it's only when then you can be able to come back to experience that, hopefully again and again and again, to be able to have that connection back. That grief can just, you know, like start to dissipate.
Absolutely, and dissolve. And, you know, I do believe the more you keep a consistent connection, the more it does dissolve, the more it returns us to our original source. In essence, we're all in recovery, aren't we? We're all in returning to the original source.
Yes, so true. So if you go back, obviously, when you've had the symbols that you had through, and then obviously you had your near-death experience, and then afterwards with the sound and the voice that came through. So how did you had the realization that sound then was connected to the symbols?
That's not long since come through, right? Okay. So, I mean, we went into lockdown, didn't we? So by the time I'd started to recover 2019, we'd kind of gone into lockdown 2020, that March. So I was still just with the sound, just edging around it with a very small community. And they're coming out with the Ascension Touch Sound, because that was the name that was given, was through book sale, as you know. She experienced it and said, why aren't you out there with this? You know, come on, mate, we're not having you stuck in this small space with this. And she was the hand that said, would you come and do just an hour in the things that I run? And I was a little bit, again, you know, but we have a rapport, it's someone that I trust. And so she took it a step further. And that was the place where we met, you know, so we can see the synchronicities of it. And then I've worked with it a lot more. I've opened that sound up a lot more. And I revisited, the symbols came back to me. And they brought it into my awareness. My helpers brought it into my awareness. And I thought, I'll go and find them. Well, actually, no, there's a bit I've missed out. It came into my awareness. And it came into my awareness twice. I thought, I'll go and find them. And here it was, you know, on scraps of paper in the bottom drawer of all things. And it's been stuck there since 2016. This was last year, and I happened to go to Glastonbury for a weekend with a friend, and we went into a shop in Glastonbury, and there was a few symbols around, and it brought it back completely, that there was 13 symbols stuck in a bottom drawer that I'd paid no attention with for kind of 7 years. And I said to her, I've got some symbols at home that I've never done anything with. Well, you know, she said, come on, I've got this feeling of like, you need to pick them up and they need to be associated with and worked with. And it was that point of bringing the two together and starting to work with them that I knew that the sound went with the symbols and the symbols went with the sound. It's an ascension of energy, you know, and that they weren't separate. It's just that I wasn't prepared or ready to go there within myself, because we do have to put that responsibility into our own ascension, don't we?
Yes.
You know, before we can, it's kind of like, well, if you're going to teach it, reach it, don't preach it unless you're prepared to go there yourself. So it's took me to another level. And so I've been working with that since October last year. The symbols came out.
I see.
And I've done the same thing again. I offer it a few people that I trust, that I know, and they know me, and I'll go, okay, would you like to work with this? Yes. And then as I've took it a little bit further, the ascension sound has come into them. Hence the fact that around this time, I can't remember when I contacted you, when I had the message, but it's doing the ascension sound and the symbols that you was brought to me. And I had no idea why. It's like, contact Melanie. I wasn't given why. And unless I'm given it, I've kind of learned that I don't ask, I honour it, because the rest will come in its own time. And so I acted on that, and I thought, well, she's probably wondering why I've contacted her. Just be honest, just say, I've just been asked to connect. So I'm connecting, hope you're okay. If you'd like to connect back, that would be lovely. If not, that's also fine. And it's just leaving it open on the table, isn't it? Hence the fact that we're doing this today.
Yes.
And so I think this is all part of it.
100%. And I mean, that this is what I always say to everybody, is to trust the process. And if you get a message or something happens in your life that is, you know, go with it. Who's to say where it's going to go? Just put it out there like you did to me. Yeah. And, you know, to be honest, a lot of the times it's like, right, okay, interesting. I haven't got a clue. So it's like, right, okay, you need to let me know what this is all about. Yeah. And then once that happens, it's like, you know, as you do, you'll be shown. And you get things put in front of you, and you get other things put in front of you. And then eventually you go, oh, right, okay. Okay, I understand where this is going and what you want me to do. Hence why we're here today. Yeah. and the connection, obviously, with the sound that you bring through, and obviously the geometric symbols as well. And I've got more of an insight with us talking of where this is going even in the future, to obviously because of my connection with the light language, again, with the symbols and everything that I bring through, which again is also totally, it's all down to sound and light, which is exactly what obviously you're doing as well. It's all this, you know, the light coming through, putting it into the sound and vice versa. So it's phenomenal. So when did you realise that it was the connection with the Hathors?
I think I'd had a slight knowing, because I do believe that we're guided back to our soul land on the earth plane as well as in, you know, the heavens, so to speak. So I know that there's been an indigenous past with me. I know that kind of temples and ancient civilizations and Eastern land also played a part in what was in my soul. So goddess, you know, sun god, grandmother moon. I knew I had that deep connection. I don't think I'd articulated it and really ground it until you said it on the day that you did the event. So to me, that day had a two-way process, you know, because also it gave me enlightenment. You was meant to be there for me as well as for each other. Do you know,
totally.
it had a bigger meaning, didn't it? So I think that what you did was really brought the clarity. You shone the light on that. And it was really interesting because that year I took a trip over to Egypt and we'd been to the temple of Hathors. So, you know, it had already had synchronized around that time. And so that consolidated the knowing and gave me the clarity. And it was like, So I instantly connected with what you were saying, instantly.
And that's, again, to go back to events, to just synchronicity and how people are put, things, people, books, or everything can be put in front of you when you're on this path and you kind of got an inkling already of something, a slight knowing. That you kind of, right, okay, you're walking down the road with it, not 100% sure, but nearly there, and something comes in, like out of the blue, like goes buff, and you get confirmation.
Yes.
And as soon as you get clarity and confirmation, it's like, right, okay, and that's it. It's a full in blown knowing, right, okay, 100%. Kind of, right, let's go to the next level now.
Absolutely.
Like, where we go, you know, where we go with this now.
Yeah, but it's kind of like long lost family, isn't it? It's like you've got your identity, you know where you come from, you've got that clarity, you feel it, you connect into it. And again, for me, it gives me another level of security. We're back to that, another level of belonging, another level of sense of self and spirit. It's just so developing.
And that's just what we were discussing before we actually went on camera, was the fact of where we're going now into 2004, into the age of Aquarius, and bringing back all this, the divine feminine energy to balance everything up, and to really look, to go back to the sisterhood aspect of unity, with females assisting females, holding hands, and just being there for each other, and to be able to move forward. Because the power, when we all get together, and the pieces of the jigsaw that we all have, that when we put it all together, is so powerful.
So powerful.
Yes. And I can only say to people watching this is to literally, you know, step out, find your soul family, find your soul sisters, connect with when I say with the female energy, because obviously there's the males that have that side to it as well. But we are talking about even them coming forward and the female energy rising within them as well. But it really is, we're talking sisterhood and unity consciousness, aren't we?
Absolutely, totally. Do you know, almost when we work in that spiritual realm, in that kind of totally united as one. Do you know? No separation. There's no differences.
No.
Regardless of.
No.
One energy.
Yeah, drop in like we said, drop in the competition.
Absolutely.
You know, there is no. What is the competition? There isn't. You know, there's enough out there for all of us, and the more of us that come together, you know, the more abundance we will receive.
Absolutely. But I think we've lived with the dysfunction of being separated from our spirit and ourselves and each other. And all that can give, that fear has massively got in the gap that separates us from our spirit and ourselves. And that fear, I believe, is what, causes the conflict, the challenge, the crisis, confusion. It breeds the competition.
Yes.
And fear gives us, you know, a lot of the culture and socializing that we do. We've learned to compete against each other, be better than, more than, lesser than, hierarchy of social structure. All of it is a separation, I believe, and that it comes in that gap, as our grief does, and loss does, as our dysfunction and dis-ease in our system, you know, our mind, our body, our physicality, our spirit. And so I firmly believe that we have to return. And a lot of the channelings that I'm receiving is we're coming back to your original source. Come back, you know, come back in.
Yes.
Recover. Because how can we come together as one, as peace within ourselves and peace with one another, and kind of going on to world peace, global peace, unless we reconnect?
Yeah, beautiful. I totally agree. Yes, and I'm sure that everybody out there will as well. That, you know, this is what we're aiming for. Whatever we go through, whatever the emotional upset is, whatever the trauma is to work our way through it, for back to that connection, back to, you know, the people around us, the connections that we're going to be making in the future. That's just so important, isn't it?
So important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have this wonderful book here, and Return to 13. So when you say, obviously, like 13 is around a lot, and it's so important, is the 13 regarding, obviously, the symbols that you received? Yeah,
I mean, everything is given to me in kind of 12s and 13s, you know, and I've never really questioned it. So I might channel through a course and there's 12 parts to it or 13 parts to it. But what I've started to realise is that, again, through separation, the miracle of life, the miracle of our planet and all our experiences become mundane, because that's the separation from the beauty of spirit, the beauty of divine love, the beauty of unconditional love, is that we don't feel, we don't sense, we don't see, and so therefore we look for a fix, or we look for fulfillment externally, and then it becomes an addiction.
Yes.
Yeah. So the 13 is the magnificence of the moment, the magnificence of life, where your perception transforms, your whole persona transforms. So you might look at a tree and it becomes greener and more magnificent. You might, you know, look at your child that's been driving you bonkers and think, oh my God, you're the magnificence of my love, of my womb space, of a union. The 13 brings that in. It brings a completion where we don't have to be anything or do anything or even set a goal, because we're so entrenched with that, aren't we? You know, and so there are moments where we're so separated, we have it momentarily, but not consistently. So the more we make a commitment to walk in the spiritual path, the more we can return to that 13 frequency of consciousness.
So how, with the book?
Yeah.
How did the book come about?
So the book is based on the first course that I channeled in 2013.
All right.
Yeah, it's based on that. So I was given sacred steps for life and leadership. You know, how we see through the eyes of source, because having a spiritual perception is different to having a perception, an earthly perception, when you're separated from it. And then we go on to form many myths because we're not connected, and we lose our oneness, and we can't advance our belief, and we lose the ability to keep increasing trust in ourselves, and then we can't hold the faith, which is a frequency, a heavenly frequency, and therefore igniting the eternal flame, the emotion, the ability to feel and to associate, is lessened or completely severed. And then that takes away, the magnificence of we are creators of life. And then it lessens the ability to come onto the divine or to find the bliss that is in your blueprint. We lose the power in connection and prayer, and appreciation becomes diminished because we go, oh, well, thanks for that and thanks for that, but we're thinking it, we don't feel it from the soul, the absolute gut of wow. And that takes you full circle, because once you have that feeling, your eyes have more of a spiritual perception to see magnificence, which is the 13. And interesting, the number 13 has been portrayed as, Friday the 13th.
Yes.
And yet it's magical for Wiccan women, for, our ancestors would celebrate that, and women would come into gatherings and circle and dance around stones and celebrate the season, because they were celebrating the magnificence that we, in our separation, doesn't fulfill us, and it seems mundane. It's like, okay, well, I'd rather go to the shopping mall or give me the next, 2 Gucci handbags or whatever it is. Not to say there's anything wrong with that, but when it becomes an external fix, there's something missing inside. Yes. And so, everything seems to come in 13s.
Well, I've already had a play with this in the book, and it's called the Sacred Steps Oracle Book, Return to 13. And I will put the link underneath the description so people could know where to get it. But I must admit, even mine, when I opened it up, it was quite... again, synchronicistical when the page I opened up and it was like, right, okay. But also, when we're talking about, obviously, the sound that you bring through, and like we said, I personally experienced that, and it is phenomenal and really does shift your energy and your soul. And literally, when I lay down within your workshop, and when you were doing that, that's why I knew where it was from, because I went to the temple. I was in the temple with the Hathors, so I knew that that's what the sound was. And that's when I said, when I came back, because I was there, I was literally walking down the passageways with the symbols that were all on the walls, which again is like with what we've discussed. I didn't know about the symbols.
No, you didn't, did you?
No.
And
I said to you, kind of the same experience that I've had again with the symbols. And it all goes back to the sound, sacred geometry, and the language of light and everything else. But what I have said and what we will do is that at the end of this video, I will attach your beautiful voice so people can listen to it, put headphones in, and just have the experience that we've had as well, because it is phenomenal, and it will shift your whole being, your energy, and take you to another level with what you experience. But it is phenomenal. And I know that you're here to put that out more now to the world.
Absolutely.
Because it is the time where we're literally, even though it's uncomfortable for us, it's a time where we've got to step up and we have to step out there. And really with our gifts, and the reason why we're here.
Absolutely, we do. Yeah, it's not a time to hold back. No. We will be pulled with the calling. So I just want to say thank you.
So that's my pleasure. my true pleasure. And the fact that, like we've said previously, even when you're on this path, if you slightly go off it and you don't listen to the messages and the signs that they're sending you, if this is your job and it's an important job, they will send you one hell of a message to get you back on the path. And sometimes it's not the most pleasant,
no,
but it puts you on a different level, as you've experienced.
Yes.
I've also experienced that, but it's all par for the course. And it's still the fact of to trust the process, to move forward. Absolutely. And whatever you experience, there is always somebody there that will hold your hand, who will help you through it and help you towards the next level.
Yeah, totally. And trust and faith and belief, you know, is what gets you through. And I think when you rise to that higher consciousness of knowing the spiritual, there's a spiritual meaning in it that is greater than your consciousness knows. It's beyond your awareness. And that what comes from beyond your awareness is the greatest good. It gives you the courage and the strength to go there, doesn't it?
Definitely.
And not, you know, sabotage or procrastinate, but actually be open to divine guidance coming in.
And my hope is that in putting our stories and many others out there into the world, to see that we're stepping up, stepping forward, even to the fact of, you know, with our fears and doubts, but we're doing it anyway, that it will allow others to think, you know, okay, I might do that as well, because there is somebody else out there who's going through the same thing, who thinks the same way as I do, and I'll trust the process also.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. I have enjoyed
Me too.
our chat. Life's flown, and thank you so much, Julianne. And everybody, I'm sure, will enjoy this and will enjoy your voice and the sound that you bring through from Source and from the Hathors. It is amazing. Thank you very, very much.
Thank
and
you.
we'll speak
It's
again.
an honour.
Yes, thank you.
Lovely.
Thank you, everybody. Again, amazing. I get so enthralled. I forget that all of this is here, all the cameras. And I thoroughly enjoyed that. I'm sure you all did as well. I think I'm just doing this for my own purpose, you know, at the end of the day. So please, and I say this to everybody, if you haven't already subscribed, please do so. The biggest thing that I ask you is that little pesky bell that is there for a reason. Please press all notifications, because if you don't, everything gets lost in the YouTube multiverse of everything. Even myself, that I'm subscribed to other channels, and I don't see it. So unless you press that all notifications, it just kind of disappears, even though you're subscribed. So if you love these interviews, and there's going to be plenty more, press that all subscribe, all that notification button. And I so look forward to seeing you again in the future and bringing you my lovely friends, my great chats, and people that assist you on whatever level that you want to go to. And I thank you. Thank you.